Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope your Sunday was sunnier than mine. It's raining here in the Netherlands. This is Wilrike Sophia, and I'm waiting for my friend Jamie Catto to come online so that we can talk to you all about stuff. Yeah, you might know Jamie Catto. We have been friends for a while, and he is an amazing human being. I love him very much. He is super funny, super wise, amazing musician, amazing teacher, and he's going to come back to the Netherlands soon. And because you may not know him, he's now in America. He's touring his new uh, film, his new video about Ramdas. You may all know Ramdas, and Jamie wanted to capture Ramdas's legacy, and that's what he's been doing. Now he's touring that movie all through America, and then he's going to come to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, to hang out with me and you all. Yeah, because we like hanging out together, and it's loads of fun when Jamie and I hang out together. It's always hilarious. It's loads of fun, and it's wise and it's deep. And we thought, let's just hang out with all of you. Yes, here is Jamie. Now I can. Where's the phone, my dear? We needed to be on phone, both of us.
I
I
am at you. Oh, yes, it worked.
It works. Hello. Got an echo now. Are you making Jamie?
Well, it is, I'm on New York time.
Your sound is terrible. I hear myself twice and I can't hear you. Yep, 1 sec. I think that's better. Yeah,
How's that?
much, much better. I think you're so much more appropriately dressed for the occasion than I am.
Go on then, strip off.
We'll do that. We'll do that during the workshop.
Okay.
Gotta save something for the people who are actually coming. How are you, Jamie? You're in the States, right?
Yes, we've been touring the Becoming Nobody film for 5 weeks across America from San Francisco to New York. This is the last couple of days in New York before I fly back to real life and adulting tomorrow or the day after.
Yeah. So what's
Oh, that's been
adulting like?
well, it's just been so nice being a child for 5 weeks. Here's your car, Mr. Cato. Here's your hotel room, Mr. Cato. Stand up and be charming and funny at 7 o'clock, Mr. Cato. Apart from that, just wandering around bookshops, hanging out with friends. No need to sort of cook for any children, drop anyone off, pick up their school shoes, do the laundry, clean the house, all the man stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got a topic there. I think this is so important for all the parents is to have moments where we don't have to do all the parenting stuff and take care of ourselves.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look
Well,
fantastic. What have you been doing?
I have been having a bit of downtime this week, actually. I had quite a shitty week. But I'm smiling my way through. I'm using some of the famous techniques that I've learned from a certain Mr. Cato, doing stroking my chest and being very sweet and nice to myself. And that helps a lot to stay centered in the midst of chaos when everything is swirling around, all these emotions are swirling around.
Mm,
And I mean, that's the practice, right? We can learn a lot about life and how things work and emotions and processing emotions, but it will never get less. I mean, life's still happening, emotions still
yeah,
happening. We just
totally.
learn, we just learn to deal with it better, I think, no?
And not just deal with it. Like a lot of people, because of the even when they take the first step of, okay, I'm not just going to avoid all my edgy feelings and all my discomforts, I'm going to turn towards them. That's a really massive, important step to be able to say, I'm a human who is willing to feel some of my uncomfortable feelings. But it doesn't stop there. That's like a vital first step. But still, people in that vein are often looking at it in the framing of, this is a great way I will neutralize my pain. Like this is a great way to turn towards these things and to do these processes and do all the dissolving and everything. It's a great way to get rid of feeling like this. And when that attitude is still leading the thing, we're still kind of slightly going down the wrong road, because beyond just neutralizing the pain, there's something even more treasure underneath that, which isn't just like, oh, getting out of something I didn't like, which is like, wow, there's something from my life's genius that's trying to communicate with me. There's treasure in here, or there's a returning in here, or there's some superpower that I didn't realize being born. You know how when you have, it's another parenting thing, you know, when you have kids and they get ill, it might just be teething, or it might be like they got a flu, or they got whatever they've got. They always come back afterwards with a new skill they didn't have before. They now suddenly are getting the spoon to the mouth, or they've got 5 new words, or whatever. And it's like every time there's something tough going on, it's usually, I believe, some part of us in another realm going and getting a bit of treasure. So I want to turn it away from just looking at neutralizing pain, and this is a great way we can manage our difficult feelings, but actually say, no, not just manage our difficult feelings, harvest the fuckers. This is what's the
Harvest the fuckers. I like that one. And also, it's like, I mean, we called this a topic about intimacy. We wanted to talk about intimacy tonight. So, like, this to me is intimacy. It's like inviting it all and not pushing it away, but being real and first with myself. So first creating that intimacy with myself before
if
turning
you're
to
not
me.
someone who's willing to feel your own feelings on the inside and have that intimacy with yourself, it's
Yeah,
going to be a big limitation for intimacy with other people,
totally.
because it's in
Yeah,
your own body that you feel their signals.
yeah.
And it's all about switching on this yin listening sensitivity is really what I want us to explore the most on our sex workshop in Amsterdam in a few weeks, is to, it's really not so much about how can I twiddle you there, or how can I, you know, like an actual sort of technique
Yeah.
of stimulation, because that's still coming from the place of I need to generate something for good sex to happen. And we're so much locked into this yang masculine generating linear, I do this and then good sex happens. But it's not about, it's the same as making music or parenting, lovemaking. It's not about that generating doing yang, it's about that receptive listening yin, being a passenger, being moved by their smell or by their sight or their curve or their sound, or being moved by what their body is communicating that it needs, softer, harder, whatever. It's only if you are listening to them on the inside of your own body and have that sensitivity that you can respond beautifully, whether as a parent or as a lover or as anything.
Yeah, so it's like the full body listening and the trust in ourselves that we actually hear that and that we can respond from our own integrity. Because that's
Yeah.
to me, that's another layer. Like I can listen in my own body to what it is that you want. But then there's the next step of like feeling like, is this something I'm willing and able to give or to allow? Or and then there's the dialogue between the two body systems.
Yeah, beautiful. And that can only happen if we're both just in this deep, deep listening,
Yeah.
curious. Devotion is a listening act.
Yes.
And we want to be devotional to each other's pleasure and to each other's sense of peace and comfort while we're making love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be down to this beautiful sensitivity of, can I listen to myself, can I listen to you, and can I act on what it is, even if it doesn't fit with what I have culturally thought of as sex, even.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, a lot of people still are working with the idea of sex, which is generated like, rub it together enough times till one or both of us come, oh, good, we ticked the box, we did it.
Now we can go to
Um,
sleep.
yeah, as if it's very destination oriented.
Yeah.
And the yang, which is, again, we were talking about the linear doing it, is very much about getting somewhere. The yin is about really being here with
Uh-huh.
whatever is. So it might be that it's like beautiful sort of sex bouncing off the walls, or sort of energetic and orgasm connected
Yeah.
sex, or it could be just the slowest, beautiful, soft entry, just staying inside each other in a much more, and it isn't
Mm.
getting to the fact of somebody coming, or even somebody getting fully wet or hard or anything. The sexuality can be
It
so
might be
many
even
different
without
things.
any touch.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
like to truly, truly be so, so curious and sensitive and listening and up for that journey, to say, well,
Mm.
whatever is what the combination of our bodies is asking, if we listen to our bodies and our spirit, what are they asking for? Not what will make me feel like a good lover, or what will make
Mhm.
me feel like I satisfied him this week and now we're cool till next week. Or
Let's see, we have the average of 2.5 times per week having sex, you know?
yeah, I used to have that in my marriage years ago, where it was almost like that thing of like, if you didn't make up the statistics, then something was wrong, and like, so then
Mhm.
now we have to make up for it next week or something. Like, it was just so dysfunctional.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Didn't work.
Wouldn't work, yeah. And as I said, this is all because we've been in school and in our families, we've been taught to have a problem, solve the problem, get to the next stage, do it very linear, going somewhere,
Mm,
crossing a finishing line, and it's done. And it's just, even for women, men, it's all just a very second nature way to act, is to
yeah,
move from that place. But
yeah.
to do the exact, that's the one side of the yin yang Taoist Chinese side. The other side is, as we were talking about, this listening, this sensitivity, because so many of the best things in life is when life moves us. You know, if you love
Mm-hmm.
dancing, you're not dancing on purpose. You're not deciding left foot, right foot. You're letting the beat move you. You're yin when you're dancing because it's the
It's
beat
what they
being
call
the
a
yang.
flow state as well, right?
Yeah,
This
exactly.
popular term.
And
Yeah,
the flow state is less controlled by the mind, so it feels
yeah.
more vulnerable for the kinds of people that don't want to look stupid, don't want to
Mm,
fail, don't want to appear vulnerable. That if you're avoiding all those things in your life, this is a harder path. But if you're a human that's thought, oh, actually, I realise there's a
mm,
whole lot of treasure in being vulnerable. I was taught the wrong rules. There's a whole lot of treasure even in failing. There's a whole lot of
mm,
treasure in laughing together at our. Like I had a relationship with someone where, because of certain reasons, it was mainly celibate,
mm,
and I won't tell the reasons why or who it was, but there were times during the relationship where we would attempt and fail to have sex, and and it was some of the saddest attempted hand jobs you ever saw in the world. But the intimacy between us, both trying it and failing, and the softness and the vulnerability on both sides of
mm,
not being able to get it together, it created a lifelong intimacy and friendship with this person that is one of the deepest treasures of my life. So it's like even showing
mm,
up for the bits where it's a disaster, but both being there in your vulnerability and your tenderness and your mutual respect and holding is some
mm.
of the best sex maybe you'll ever have, is when you
Oh
failed to
yeah,
have sex, but it took you so deep. So it's like we're changing the whole paradigm of what good sex is, and also who we're being when we're having sex, which is the listening, caring, vulnerable, you know. And oddly, when you do that, suddenly the hottest, most carnal, crazy permission sex suddenly feels safe to come in, because all that crazy stuff that you're so into, like with your pink parties and purple parties and red parties and whatever, all your crazy, that comes from safety only. You know,
yep,
the first thing is like the deepest, most vulnerable. The people you can be the deepest, most vulnerable, most safe, most trusting with are the people who you can, you know, go all
yeah,
the way with your sort of four dildo
yeah.
hat or whatever
Our
it is you
inner
like to wear.
Jamie. I think people already have crazy ideas about my life, and it must be so disappointing when they know the truth. Now you're making it worse.
I know. I can't help it. I can't help it because it
It's
turns me into a
okay.
schoolboy.
I know who's saying this. I can handle it.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's true.
all
We
that more. Go on. Yeah.
we have our inner animals, and then I don't mean the wild tigers, but we have our inner animal, our nervous system that needs to feel safe. And if that doesn't feel safe, whatever we're doing, we're just surviving the experience. So we will go into a fight or flight mechanism, and there's no learning there. There's no pleasure there. There's no growth there. It's just surviving the circumstances. Even if you might feel like, you're having sex and, you're how do you say, like pushing your limits or something. But if you don't feel safe on the inside, it's not going to bring you anything
Mm,
other than probably shrinking your comfort zone and creating fear and trauma. So
yeah.
yeah, I totally agree on the feeling safe. It's the most important part. Yeah.
So if we take away the whole thing of the old paradigm of sex has to be starting here, getting to a certain stage, getting wetter,
Hmm.
getting harder, getting sexier, then an orgasm at the end. Hope if we take away that whole paradigm and make it about a listening of what is really coming up between us in the moment, which might be that erogenous, orgasmic whole kind of thing, or it might be more. I realize, and a lot of women I work with one on one have told me this, but I realize it was actually true for me as well. It's not just true for women, is I realized that so much of the sex I had in my life I didn't actually definitely want.
Yeah.
And it was more like what I wanted was touch. But our
Hmm.
culture doesn't have a way that we can touch ourselves sensually and be there and it not lead to sex. We just haven't kind of worked that out yet. I mean, in
I'm
your
gonna have a whole TED talk about this topic in a week.
great.
This is
So
about this.
so so that's another thing of like, you know, sex can be just touch, which doesn't have to be erogenous and erotic even.
I really
And
like to redefine the whole idea about intimacy because so many people think intimacy and sex are the same thing, but to me, they're absolutely not the same thing.
mm,
Sex is just one expression of being intimate together. And being intimate to me is like what we said in the beginning. It's like me being real with myself and then being real with you and you being real
Mm.
with yourself while you're being real with me. And then we're
Yeah.
meeting as two real human beings. And
And
then
how can
whatever
I
wants to
serve you?
unfold. Yeah,
How
then,
can I
yeah,
serve you? You know, a lot of
yeah.
the recent 20 years of magazines has been all about how to get your needs met in a relationship, how to get your needs met sexually, and it would be wonderful to have just as many articles that say how to be devotional sexually, how to give
Yeah,
sexually. When did it become about acquiring something? How can it be about how can I be devotional? How can I flex my generosity muscles and feel received? Because there's nothing
yeah,
more beautiful in the world than having your generosity received. There's
yeah,
nothing, you know, when you've taken some time over a present for someone or made something, it's so exciting watching them open it, much more than you yourself opening another scarf. Having your gifts received and really being seen in your generosity and in your unique flavor of giving is a really important, vital, beautiful part of being a human. So
absolutely.
to concentrate on that and how to be the most devotional, not be a doormat, not, you know, cross your boundaries. Don't mistake it with just being like a martyr. It's not that kind of thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually empowering oneself through how many ways can I turn this person on? How can I delight
Hmm.
you? How can I surprise you? How can I wow you? How can I just like hold you in the deepest peace that your body needs right now? How can I be
Yeah.
there for you? You know, that when you start moving from there, which is more yin, more service, more,
Mm-hmm.
you still get your own needs met anyway. It's not like you give up your own needs. They just get met through a different channel. When you open up the generosity channel, you don't realize that another huge channel starts pouring into you
Mm-hmm.
through the giving. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's so many different
and
avenues to explore.
to also notice that because it can be easy to turn into a pleaser, to turn into someone who's just trying like almost in a creepy way, trying to
Yeah, I
like
don't
have
mean
this
that.
hidden agenda of like I'm gonna try to get my needs met, but I'm gonna pretend I'm like meeting yours. Like that's
Hmm.
not what it's about either. And I also like next to this devotional piece, I love this devotional piece that you're describing. I also love to change the paradigm where we learn that taking pleasure is okay, that we can touch another person when they agree for our own pleasure. Because that's another flavor that we don't learn is that I
Hmm.
can touch you because I want that. And you say, these are
Yeah.
my boundaries, and within these boundaries, you can do whatever you want. And then I love it when someone is exploring my body within my boundaries for their pleasure. And that gives me so much pleasure as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Massive. Massive.
yeah.
So all of these I want us to explore and talk about, and to whatever feels comfortable, try things out. You know,
Mhm.
there's an exercise I'd love to try, but maybe we shouldn't say it on this Facebook Live because it might spoil the surprise for people.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'll let you know later. You know, or sometimes the most gentle, simple. It's not like crossing boundaries and going deep scuba. There's so much low-hanging fruit by us, even sitting opposite each other and having this conversation about these kinds of things is massive treasure,
Yeah.
massive low-hanging fruit, and energy moving and permission returning. Just by the very gentlest snorkeling around the edge of things. I don't need us to go deep scuba to get incredible amounts of treasure. And that's why,
So
you know,
true.
some people get a bit put off by this stuff. They're going to think they're going to find themselves in a more confronting situation or more exposing situation than they would like to. And that's not how we roll in your
Mm-mm.
workshops or in my workshops. We're not
Mm-mm.
about big exposure, big
No.
catharsis, punching the pillow
Oh
for
no.
mummy. It's just about
Mm-mm.
whatever is the absolute gentlest, safest, dipping your toe in version
Yeah.
sometimes produces the absolute most deep shifting results. So like it's a very gentle, for me it's a very gentle process. I really believe in like the Taoists talk about never using more than 70% effort on any task, and then over your whole life you will be sustainably at your best. I'm a very
Mm.
very big believer in just holding back. The way a baby sucks on a nipple is it doesn't suck as hard as it can to get the milk out.
Well,
It
I'm
has to.
not sure, Jamie. I've breastfed for a long time. I'm not sure if I agree with you there.
But
It's
you know,
not
to get
gentle.
the flow going, no, but to get the flow going, it has to suck at a kind of medium rate, not at a. To actually get the flow going, a baby has to suck at a medium rate, not a hard rate. It will often break the flow, but it starts to sort of. There's a rhythm um, to not pull so hard and get more out of the thing.
Yeah. Well, as you're speaking, I'm already thinking of even more exercises that we can bring this weekend because I'm so with you. Like there's so many workshops out there where people like kind of like throw you into deep waters and you kind of half drown before you figure out that you can actually swim up and get some air. Like I'm not a believer in those things. I'm not
Mm.
a believer either. Like I really like magic happens just outside of your comfort zone, and I like it when people decide themselves how far they go. indeed, I do the toe dipping version and
Mm,
really expand and learn. And I don't even think it's low hanging fruit there. I think it's like such deep processes, and sometimes touching upon the deepest things that are holding us back, just there in the gentleness.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So much of it is about permission because
yeah.
in many areas of our life, obviously, we don't have the permission to be this tender, or we may not be held, or it feels more risky. It is so wonderful to be around that level of permission where you don't have to go deep, you don't have to, get out all your tenderness, but it's an environment where you absolutely know that if you want to, it's
Yeah.
cool. There's nobody who's going to be looking at you funny or making
Hmm.
assumptions about you or being in comparison to you or everyone is just in their own like snorkeling around the edge curiosity, you
Yeah.
know. Mm.
Mm. Looking forward to hanging out with you again, Jamie.
Yeah, can't wait. It's only like 2 weeks away.
It's only 2 weeks away. Yeah, it is. It's exactly 2 weeks away now. Yep.
Mm. In
Yep.
Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam.
What a great place to do it too. It's always such a pleasure.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we're in a
If anyone
beautiful
has
place.
any questions about our workshop, please feel free to like write to me or Vilrika and get any clarity.
Yeah.
Um, and that there are often with these workshops more questions, and if we haven't answered them, we would absolutely love to because we'd really love to have you all there. Um, and a lot of it is laughter and playful. Let's not forget that. This isn't a serious business. Um, the wisdom can't live without playfulness, and us taking ourselves all really seriously and feeling all ashamed and this and that and the other. From one perspective, it's all a big play. It's all
Hmm.
actually quite funny that we're all so crazy and hung up in different ways, or hiding, or desperate, or we've got all these different characters in us. It can be really really fun to turn towards them a little bit, and rather than running from them and escape from them, hear what they actually want to say, because beneath every ripple, beneath every dysfunction, between every crazy bit, between every edge, underneath it all is all these legitimate needs of our life's genius trying to
Hmm.
look after itself and trying to communicate to us its legitimate needs, no matter how
Hmm.
strange the behavior is. The legitimate need underneath is to be listened to, and that's this yin thing again. This curiosity is, you can hear the words they're saying or the way they're behaving or the way you're behaving, but if you listen a bit deeper behind it and just tune in a bit more silence, you can feel the tender legitimate need underneath that just says,
Hmm.
hey, I need to be held, or I need to be listened to, or I need to be
Hmm.
left alone. But you need to listen deeply in the stillness to find out what is that legitimate need underneath that we're all going to be devotional to. And I
Yeah.
just look forward to discovering that with you and your
Oh
gang
yeah.
and my gang.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And also, people sometimes think that we only learn through discomfort and suffering, but we
No,
learn through
yeah.
pleasure. Yeah,
Pleasure
we
is
can learn through
transformative.
pleasure. Yeah, and we can choose. So, if people want to learn through pleasure, I think we are good people to hang out with.
Yeah. We should, after this broadcast, you should share it on your wall and I'll share it on mine because if I listen to it
Yeah.
back, then it'll tell us what we're doing in the workshop.
Yes, that's a good idea. I'll put the link in the comments here as well.
Great. Great.
All right. So people, if you got questions, just put them in the comments. We will read them later and answer them later. And yeah, we already sold quite a bunch of tickets, but there's some places left. And if you're just listening to this and like, no, I'm not going to come, then thank you for listening to us. It's awesome that you're hanging out with us. And more and more to come in the future.
Bye, my love.
All right. Bye. Have a good last few days in America.
Thank you.
See you soon. Mwah.